That's how great it was. And now, people don't want to see flawed systems. They don't want to watch the SEC win every single championship. And I know SEC junkie, sorry to say this, SEC junkie, but not a lot of people in America like your teams. Because you guys get the top recruits. You guys have the recruiting that crosses the line. I mean, look at the LSU. Remember when I told you about Stanley McClover? I just gave you an example today what happened. About an LSU scout giving a money handshake to Stanley McClover. No joke. SEC recruiting, SEC style is non-objective, no integrity for the game. Anything by any means. That's why people don't like the SEC. So, please, this system is flawed. And even some of you college football fans might say, I love college football. I know college football isn't flawed. I know college sports isn't flawed. I mean, if that's the case, then, why did Boise State get in the Fiesta Bowl and all that, Come on. Last year, what was the national championship game? LSU and Alabama. How typical. From the SEC, here we go again. You think that's acceptable? SEC fans love it. But all around the country, do people like it? No. Does ESPN like it? Yes. Because it gives good ratings and it's 1 and 2 and they have a contract with the SEC, so yes, it's good for them. Is it good for anyone else? No. Besides the SEC and ESPN, those are the only two benefits in college football. Because we're forced to watch LSU and Alabama for the national championship. The BCS, who cares about the BCS? It's a terrible playoff system. No one likes the BCS. College football analysts don't like the BCS. That's why they implemented the 4-team playoff. And that's not even that great. The 4-team playoff did not make a resolution to this BCS. Chuck the BCS out the window. We know it's bad. We know it's awful. The BCS is all for money. Why do they call it the Fiesta Bowl? Because Tostitos sponsors that bowl. They put their name on it. Look at the Alamo Bowl. Alamo Company puts their name on it. College football, colleges get money. NCAA gets money. The Meineke Bowl. They get money. All these different companies are coming in to make bowls, to put their names on it, so that college football gets money. They don't care about the actual playoffs. Because we'll find a true national champion if we did a true tournament. If we did it the same way as March Madness did, and you know what, I have to commend college sports just for that one thing. March Madness is extraordinary. I don't know why they don't do it for college football. And you know what my reason is for it? Because they know they can get more money with college football. So they put the Meineke Bowl, they put the Alamo Bowl, the Tostitos Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, which is the Tostitos, all these different things. It's not acceptable. It's money bowl. Money all the way. No true winner. None. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have the interview with John Landstrainer, and I'll get my thoughts on young recruiting, TV deals with the NCAA, and much more. Please call in, please comment. I'll get your questions and comments. Alright, back on the Cameron Sadeghi Show. On National Sports on Air. And it's the interview. The interview that with John Lansgrainer, you can follow him, Johnny on Air. This guy is quality guy. Quality, he's trying to get in the business of sports broadcasting. In college in Milwaukee, he did a radio show for them. And, you know what? Let's hear him now. I talked to him yesterday via the phone. Take a listen.
Alright, we are here with John Lansgrainer. You can follow him on Twitter, Johnny on Air. He is trying to get a gig in the sports broadcasting market, and he's here today to discuss the state of the NCAA and the system, flawed to many, especially in the media. And I want to ask you, John, that, you look at these institutions recruiting 13-year-olds, asking for verbal commitments. Look at David Sills Jr. in the West Coast, 5'11", 13-year-old quarterback. There are so many cases. Do you think that it's okay to recruit teenagers and recruit players at this age to aid your institution's sports teams?
I don't personally have a problem with them looking at it. I see at AAU basketball tournaments, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, I see college basketball coaches there. I think that the problems come in is when you're trying to, I won't say corrupt, but you're trying to make these young kids make up their minds early. How am I going to know when I was 14, I wouldn't think, where I was going to school now is where I would have went, back then. If they're going to verbally commit, those coaches are going to be hounding them, time after time. And I think that the coaches being there is okay, watching them for, 4 or 5 years, but then they shouldn't even be really talking to them until they're at least a sophomore, junior in high school.
And John, I want to ask you point blank. Even at LSU, they recruited a 13-year-old linebacker who his 40-yard dash is amazing. He's got unbelievable tackling ability. And look, I totally agree with you. We don't know how they're going to end up. Who knows? They might not even like football at that age. So, yeah, that's in question. And I want to ask you this too. And it's, you get these recruiters and, the recruits trying to come in and, institutions doing all they can and actually giving too many perks, doing money handshakes. I heard a story from HBO Real Sports with Brian Gumble that a money shake occurred with a top recruit, $500 money handshake. Do you think that's okay to go that far? Or do you think there needs to be a boundary? There needs to be a line where the NCAA needs to stop this right now?
There's all kinds of stuff the NCAA needs to be stopping. But I really think that there needs to be something set up that they can't be talking to kids who are 12 and 13 years old. They're talking about the concussion issues now. You talk about the young linebacker. If he knows that these schools are looking at him, he's going to be going out there and trying to make a lasting
personally saw with my very own eyes an ESPN special where it was a behind-the-scenes practice where we got to see Alabama's practice, and in 100-degree weather, humidity high, long practice. I mean, those players looked dog-tired. Saban was yelling and screaming after practice. To me, I thought they were going to get a heat stroke. I know that's extreme, but I thought, why is this guy overworking? I thought there's a practice limit. I just wonder, and I have to ask you this, John, is that there's a 20-hour practice limit during the week, I believe, and there are practice limits all the time in the NCAA. Do you think that should be extended? Should the practice limit be extended, or what do you think about this whole issue with practice limitation?
You saw what happened in Michigan where they were, they're having, quote unquote, they were unofficial official practices that supposedly, the coaches were having and things, and the NCAA found out about it. What I really think is that they need to set, I wouldn't stay a limit time-wise, like for a week, but I think there needs to be a limit of some sort time-wise for one practice, or that, for football, that you only have, like NFL has, you only have 1 or 2 days a week in full pads, where, people are going to just get hurt, and that's going to be the focal point, I think, of a lot of stuff, and again, these head injuries and all these injuries. And I think that there needs to be, during the off-season, the 2 days are fine, but I think that there needs to be something where they're not in pads, they're only in pads to one practice a day for 2 hours, or, whatever it may be. But, things have gotten a lot better. You've had years, in the last 10 years, you've had players die from heat stroke and things, and so, they would say you don't get water until, this. Now they require you, the coaches require you to have water breaks, at times that help to cut down on all that heat stroke and stuff. But in my opinion, there needs to be a cut down on pad practice. I don't have a problem with, having had helmet short pads on, whatever, but I really think that the contact practice needs to have a cut down on it.
And John, you were talking about coaches and players and the practice limitations right there, and I want to ask you, there's a huge problem that I have, and I think many would have. I'm not trying to represent anyone, but I think, from people that I've heard, coaches in college have a little bit too much power. Like they always say, power corrupts all, and it seems to work, whether it was the Penn State situation or other situations that have occurred over the past. And I want to ask you, John, should the power be limited amongst all the coaches of the NCAA, and what is your alternative to this